Hello everyone, it's Beastly Eel, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the season premiere of the final season of The Bad Batch. So it was a 3-episode premiere, and how I'm going to be talking about this is I'll be dividing it up between the two story groups. So we'll be talking about Omega and Crosshairs together, along with we will also be talking with Hunter and Wrecker together. Now I know the story if you've seen it. If you have not, well, spoilers ahead. The first episode is about Omega and Crosshair. Second episode is about Wrecker and Hunter. And then the third episode goes back to Omega and Crosshairs. So we're going to focus heavily on the first two, the second episode more right now, and move towards episode 1 and 3. You'll understand when I talk about it just because of the back and forth will just mess me up personally. So while things have been going on, Hunter and Wrecker have been trying to figure out where Omega is. So they have a good idea of who they're looking for, which is obviously the scientist. I almost said doctor, and trying to figure out where he is and everything else. What they've been figuring out is they did a bounty for this alien group with horns and everything else, um, and they were given information about where the scientist's lab is, the Imperial um, lab is. So they go there, and it is a wasteland. It was at one point I would imagine. I mean, it still is a plant life um, planet, and the facility is overrun by what looks like plant life. So as they go down, they find young clones. Apparently, the cloning project never officially went away, which we'll discuss a little bit later. Um, and there were 3 clones to be specific. So they convince the clones, Wrecker and Hunter convince the clones that they are not like the stormtroopers slash clone troopers. They are much different than all the others. So because of that, they're convinced enough based on how they're acting to have them and show them to the leader. So they bring them to the leader, who is also a young clone. And the young clone leader is pretty much against it, 100%. Before that, though, I do apologize. I did forget something. They were attacked by a living vine. Apparently, the vines, one of the experiments that they were doing there was trying to create a weapon that would be able to cause destruction on planets rather quickly. However, they lost control of it and it took over the base, and which is why they had to escape. And the only people they left, well, the only creatures they left, I should say, were the vines and the clones that could be discarded. So that's when they actually get there, and they explain that the only way they could figure out where the scientist had gone to is a terminal that was inside the lab that's covered in the living vines. And not only would they have to get there safely and survive and avoid the vines, they would also have to gather a power source and bring it with them to get the control panel working. One of the clones agrees to go with them to show them the way, and Wrecker and Hunter go back to the ship and grab their robot. Um, and the 3 of them make it into the facility. Well, what happens is they get attacked by a vine again. They destroy it and get to the main area of the laboratory, and they see the control panel. So they get there and they turn it on and they start downloading all the schematics that they can as quickly as they can. While this is going on, vines are coming up and starting to try to grab them and basically rip them apart. So they start blasting it. The young clone calls the other 2 clones to ask for backup. It sounds like those 2 just want to escape and they're going to steal the Bad Batch's ship. But in true clone fashion, they get into the ship, turn it on, and they go and save Hunter and Wrecker and their clone as well. So what was really interesting here is when the vines start to go wrap around the ship, it actually looks like a Snarlack pit almost. like looking like a Snorlax, but made out of plant. And the only way for them to escape was them to have the clones inside the ship unload their entire, basically, arsenal of explosives, their huge case of explosives, and land inside their mouth, its mouth, sorry, and blew it up. Then they were able to escape and they took off. And they don't know where they're going yet, but they were telling the clones that they would drop them off to where they needed to a place that was safe, where they could finally, live a life. And that's how their story ends. Because granted, like I said, it's only been 3 episodes, and there's a lot that was kind of dropped in this, right? So we know that Hunter and Wrecker are looking for Omega, but where is Omega? Well, last we saw her, she was a prisoner in the lab where the head scientist was, along with the clone creator as well. She was supposed to be used as leverage to get her to work faster. So we get to see her first couple of days there, Omega, I mean, and we see that she is the apprentice to the clone creator again. And all the clones' DNA are being extracted and being used to test subjects to see if they're a vital source to be able to be used for their specific cloning purposes. So this kind of gets routine where Omega has her routine down, she goes in, helps out, and everything else. And the clone creator actually um, removes Omega's DNA and blood sample from existence. And it's heavily hinted that Omega will be sought after even more than she already is if her DNA is actually scanned. And that's kind of where it's left off in this point in time. So during this, she sees Crosshairs and she starts talking with him and trying to figure out, well, what are they going to do to escape? And he goes, nothing. We can't escape. I've tried and I failed. And Omega doesn't want to give up and is basically stating that they're going to find a way to do so. Um, During this time, we basically see like a significant amount of time pass. I'm not 100% sure like how long it's been, but I'm guessing months to possibly a full year of um, her being there because her hair's grown. It's in like sort of a ponytail type thing now, and she knows her routine like clockwork. She's even befriended a creature that was part of the defense of the base to the point where it was scheduled for decommission. Sorry, termination. Um, because it's now domesticated and it won't be worthy enough to do anything else. So Omega actually destroys or damages the droid um, because she did not want it to be. She did not want the creature to be destroyed. So she then releases the creature and tells it to go away, and she saves it. Right. Well, apparently her punishment is not going to be to her; it's going to be to everyone else, because the idea is the head scientist, basically explains to her, "You're not going to be the one that punished; everyone else will be." And she doesn't find that to be fair, and he goes, "It doesn't need to be fair. I've decided." So, and that's kind of how the episode ends, where he kind of breaks Omega a little bit, significantly so, where she kind of is at least seemingly looking like she's given up. So in the next episode, we see that she's kind of gaining her confidence back and trying to figure out new ways of um, building herself up, right? And trying to figure out how they're going to escape. And she keeps going to see Crosshairs, and Crosshairs is kind of like not wanting anything to do with her, but at the same time cares a little bit. It's a very awkward situation. So during this, apparently, right, we have the clone creator and the head scientist go to a very specific part of the lab where nobody else is allowed to see. And apparently, it looks very similar to Moff Gideon's cloning area. Like, you know that area I'm talking about with all the different lights and stuff? Uh, I think there's a reason for it. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm leaning towards that, right? So this, like I said, this is continuing to happen and everything else. Um, Apparently, they've been successful in the sense of they've made progress, but they are nowhere near where they need to be. And the head scientist is basically threatening the clone creator, saying, "You need to provide results." And I hope that the emperor is as lenient as I am for your sake. So apparently, the emperor is coming, and everyone's freaking out. So there's more guards than usual. And now apparently, um, because during this whole thing, right, the head scientist explains to everyone that the the emperor is coming, and the creator of the clones and the head scientist would need to go together. And she's like, "That's fine. I'll do these data samples when I come back." And he goes, "No, he'll have the female clone do it." And she had seen the DNA taken from Omega, and seeing that it was there, realizing that she can't get rid of it because it's being done while she's gone. She explains to Omega that this is going to be at the time she has to escape. She's to take her pad over there, like on the wall or whatever, and use it to escape. And then the two of them, the head scientist and the clone creator, go elsewhere, right, to meet the Emperor. So now Omega is escaping. Um, she grabs the device off the um, right where the clone creator said it would be, and she starts. The first place she goes is to get Crosshairs. So she convinces Crosshairs to do what she says. She opens up the gate, his prison gate. He takes the guns from the guards, and the two of them are ready to go. And he's asking her, like, "Do you have a plan?" And she's like, "Nope, we're winging it." He's like, "Wonderful." So they're going to take a shuttle. Turns out they have no shuttles here at all. She then states that the only shuttle that will be allowed to go must be the Emperor's. They'll have to take that one. He 100% is against that because he's like, "Nah, that's not going to go well because it's going to be the most guarded one of all." And even with his skill, he's not going to be able to take him out. And apparently, he's been having trouble with his hand, and not being able to do as much, or shoot as much, I should say, or shoot with as much accuracy as he used to. So anyway, they decide that they're going to use the entryway where the creatures go in and out of, the defensive creatures, because there's an empty cell, that's how they would escape. While they're doing that and taking care of the robot that's guarding it, aka destroying it, we have the Emperor talking with and the um, the head scientist and the clone creator, and explain that they've made great progress, but unfortunately they have not been able to be successful yet. They would need more funds to be able to fund the project to be able to get to the point that they're at. Although they've shown great strides in their progress, like they said, they still need more funds for it. And the Emperor says Project Phoenix will get the full support of the Empire, but you're to keep it a secret because even those on our side would think this work to be blasphemy. And he then leaves with the idea of them continuing their projects and the idea that possibly the head scientist becoming the head science person of the Imperial Army, although that was not guaranteed. So he leaves. He finds out Omega's left. They now try to shut everything down, and he finds out just in time to put up the emergency gates up, or the electric gates up, to try to stop them from escaping. They were fast enough to get away from it, although it was close. And they begin looking for a crashed shuttle. They begin looking for it. They're able to find it, and ready to take off. Not easily, by the way. They had to take out a few guys in the meantime. So as they're getting ready to escape, um, the head scientist person was basically exclaiming to kill the one on the ship. Well, the female clone was still going through all the blood samples, and when they got to Omega's, they found out that Omega's blood would be enough to sustain the cloning process. So she runs and tells the head scientist that you can't kill her. She's the only one that's going to be able to fix this. So he calls off the pursuit, and her and Crosshairs escape. And that is the end of the episode. Although it does end with him saying, "Now that we have the full support of the Empire, we will be able to hunt them down with full resources without a problem." So that being said, that's the end of it. So one of the key pieces I got out of this personally is Project Phoenix. Now this has been hinted at for a while. This was hinted because of the sequel series, where we get to see Palpatine come back. But the big thing too is we've been hinted at this by The Mandalorian. Um, we've been hinted at this by, I believe, even Rebels. Don't quote me on that. But there's been like talks of cloning and everything else continuing well beyond, well before all of this at certain points, right? So it'll be interesting. Although Rebels, I'm not as confident as I should be. Um, but all the others are for sure. Like definitely, obviously, the Mandalorian for sure. Where they're really, this was the first time we're hearing it from the ground up, and wondering where it is and how successful some of his clones are, because there had to be at least one for Ray to be born. So that being said, it'll be very interesting to see where that goes. But Project Phoenix has been something I've been looking forward to actually seeing, since we've been hearing about it for what feels like forever. So it'll be interesting if we also see Moff Gideon come to be, like a young Moff Gideon. But we'll have to wait and see. Overall, these three episodes were great. They gave us just enough to get us excited for the season, the final season, but also kind of give us everything we want, but also tell us nothing at the same time, right? So we know that Hunter and Wrecker are looking for Omega, and Omega and Crosshairs have escaped, and the Empire is going to be looking for Omega and keeping her alive, mostly due to the fact that her blood is going to be the reason why Palpatine's clones can be sufficient. So, let me know what you guys thought about these episodes in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not? And why? And as always, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a great night.